Welcome to the Teach Joyfully podcast, where we talk about all things elementary teaching with some mom stuff thrown in. I'm Lisa Burns, a teacher success coach, veteran elementary teacher, and mom of 5. I'll be your host. Thanks for joining me today. Today we're talking about how to teach how-to writing. We use all kinds of things to help us, like shared experiences, pictures. You get the idea. Just like teaching any other way to write, I start this process with a picture book. Two of my favorites are How to Wash a Woolly Mammoth by Michelle Robinson or How to Read a Story by Kate Messner. One of the things I love about these two books is that they really do lay it out step by step and make it obvious for students. Once we've walked through all the steps in the book, then we can head into modeling. I show students exactly how I would write a how-to essay. How-to writing is something that we consider to be fairly easy. It seems very simple, step by step. It tends to lend itself to just breaking it down, right? The problem is it's not easy. It's actually really hard to break things down into steps for kids. And so we really need to be explicit about how to do this. So I like to start with pictures of me making cookies. It's something everyone can get behind, and it's fun. And the pictures help because we can order them, reorder them, talk about different kinds of steps and pieces and parts that I'll be doing as I'm making cookies. And everyone can understand because they can see the process. So when I'm modeling, I'm talking through each and every step. And the pictures, we use that to help through the whole process. And then I talk about how I rehearse that. So I'm rehearsing my entire essay with my students, and they get to ask me questions. And that helps me solidify what it is that I need to put in so they'll understand. So I'm modeling the rehearsing piece as well. Then I pull out a graphic organizer, and I talk through each and every step of using the organizer to help plan out what I'm going to write. And we fill it out together. As I'm doing this, we're adding in and talking about all the academic language that goes with this particular content. So it can be things like transition words, those kinds of things. And so all of those pieces are really important. Some of them are not natural to students, even though they do use them in their speech, but they don't use them in their writing. And in how-to writing, transition words are an essential piece. Not to say they're not important in other writing, but this is such a great place to actually teach, very specifically, the use of transition words. It lends itself to such an easy process of doing this. Next, I usually plan some sort of an activity that everyone gets to participate in. Now, it can be an experiment, so maybe we're talking about magnets in science, and I might give each of the group members in a small group a slightly different variation on a science experiment with magnets. So each one will be doing something very slightly different so that their writing won't be the same, but also they'll have a chance to ask each other questions, and it will be meaningful because they'll have to understand how their experiment differed from their partner's experiment. Another way to do this is to have students try a new activity at home and come prepared to discuss it and talk about it when they get back. This is where a journal comes in. My students have journals for almost everything. So if your students have writer's notebooks, this is the perfect opportunity to use them. I encourage students to take or draw pictures along the way with whatever it is they're doing, whether they're doing an experiment in class or they're doing something at home that they want to use for their how-to writing the next day. Either way, they need some sort of documentation on the steps. Pictures or drawings are the first way. The second way is to have notes to go along with that. They're going to need it all in order to rehearse with their group the next day. Next, students need to talk through their pictures and their notes in small groups. This is their chance to rehearse. It's a chance to ask questions and get feedback from their teammates in order to refine how they're going to write this. It helps them figure out what's missing and what might be confusing to their reader. Then, using those pictures and notes, they can create and order their writing process. This is where a graphic organizer comes in. So as they take the graphic organizer, they can start to put it all together. And this includes transition words. I have a graphic organizer where I have a list of transition words that would be good for students to use in their how-to writing. That's not to say there aren't other transition words that students could use, but this is a great first start for them, and they can choose from the word box in order to get started. Once the graphic organizer is together, it's time to write. So having a little bit of a template can help with students in getting that writing going. Once they've got their writing down, it's time to revise. Each student gets a short revising checklist to help them go through their own writing, and then they switch with a partner and check each other as well. It's a chance to get a little more revising in from someone else's perspective to make those last little changes that will make it even more clear for their reader. And then we move to editing. That editing checklist is last, and that's just that last little piece, checking for capitals, periods, all those little conventions, and then it's time to publish. Do that final copy. Honestly, it's not a hard process, but it's still a process that needs explicit teaching. And it's a process that students need a lot of help with in order to be able to be clear. It's very easy to think you can just give some directions and someone else will understand them. But the reality is, directions are actually really hard to give in a clear manner. And this is a great opportunity for students to learn that. I'll put a link to a graphic organizer in the show notes for you. So that's it. Give it a go. I can't wait to hear how it's going. And for today, that's all, my friends. We're out of time and I'm out of breath. Thanks so much for joining me today. If you liked today's episode, I'd love it if you'd go to Apple Podcast or wherever you listen and leave a review. While you're there, hit the subscribe button so you'll never miss an episode. Also, you can continue the conversation online with me in my Facebook group, the Teach Joyfully Podcast Community, where elementary teachers can connect, get help and encouragement for all kinds of education and parenting topics. You can find the show notes and links to all the resources mentioned in today's episode on my website at www.hopeineducation.com/podcast. And remember, a happy teacher is a good teacher. Until next time, teach joyfully and take care of you.